Joseph, the brother of former NFL defensive lineman William Joseph, and then bouncers punched him, leaving Incognito spitting out blood on a security video in the club's possession. Club Live has a business relationship with the Dolphins with a club at Sun Life Stadium. Incognito also was summoned to the NFL offices before the 2012 season to explain other off-the-field charges that also were dismissed. Still, Dolphins management did not have any issues with Incognito being a team leader.
And let's go ahead and talk about just lay the foundation for some facts already established. This week, Commissioner Roger Goodell appointed a special investigator, Ted Wells, a prominent New York attorney, to head up the investigation into the Dolphins' workplace and all these issues that we're talking about, and beyond that. And then it was 2 weeks ago tomorrow, Monday. It was on October 28th when Jonathan Martin apparently cracked under an incident in the cafeteria, left the team, checked himself into a local South Florida hospital, and then left later with his parents back to California. And then 6 days later, last Sunday, Richie Incognito was suspended by the Dolphins for conduct detrimental, and the investigation gets underway, I would say, rather more aggressively this coming week, Boomer.
All right, fellas, obviously plenty more on this from you and the rest of the league. So, Tommy, I'll start with you here. There's a lot to digest, and I'm afraid that we don't have everything that's needed to digest, and I think everybody knows that. Where do we stand on this?
Well, let's talk about what we know.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, May 18th, about 1:30 in the afternoon, at a Dolphins-sponsored golf outing, a female volunteer, we've all been to these kinds of events, was approached by Richie Incognito with a golf club. He molested this young female volunteer inappropriately, as you can, with a golf club. I want our viewers to imagine that. Your sister, your daughter. I have two. He then knocked her glasses off of her head and poured water over her as a parting shot. She wanted an apology. He would not give her one. Nat Moore, former receiver, now with the Dolphins organization, apologized for the organization and promised that something would be done. She didn't think it would. She filed a police report, which is why we know about it. He later was then put on the Leadership Council after she signed a non-disclosure agreement, which indicates or suggests that she got compensated. She got paid to stay quiet about what he did. So let's fast forward to this week. We have abuse. You have the cover of the locker room. And then in this instance, this last instance, he was rewarded. I would put to you that as we fast forward one more week, what is causing the panic in that locker room is that they realize that Jonathan Martin is documenting everything that they did for a year and a half to him, and they are already in a mode of trying to protect not only Richie Incognito, but themselves as well. Anyone who is involved in this, payment is getting ready to come due.
As we all know, this is very unfortunate. But it has happened. And the facts are the facts. And what we know today is the things that we know. There's more to come out over time, for sure. There's going to be more. The story never ends. When you look at what's going on within the Dolphins organization, it's not just about Richie Incognito. It's just not about Jonathan Martin. It's about the organization as a whole. From the top down. You have a general manager in Jeff Ireland who bring in free agents and bringing in players. And in a locker room setting, everybody has to coexist. Or you at least have to know what personalities go with which. When you're putting a guy in a locker room, you need to know if I can get along with you, Boomer, if I can get along with Chris, and if not, then I'm not part of that team. But obviously the Dolphins didn't do their homework. When they made the decision to draft Jonathan Martin and align him in an offensive lineman room with Pouncey, with Richie Incognito, it didn't work out, and then you allow things to continue to go on. And you always hear, or you've been hearing lately, everybody knows what goes on in the locker room. Or better yet, everybody doesn't know what goes on in the locker room. No, you know. When you've been inside locker rooms, you know. We all know what goes on behind those doors. You know, whether it's relating to your own personal life and family, or your teammates. We do know. We can look on your face and tell if something is bothering you from day to day. So to hear the Dolphin players claim that they thought that this young man was a friend of his, to hear Coach Philman say he could have come to him, no, he couldn't have. Obviously, because he didn't. There's a reason that he checked himself into a hospital. He just didn't decide one day, oh, you know what, I'm going to wake up and go check myself into a hospital because I'm not feeling good. No, he checked himself into a hospital because he was disturbed about everything that's been happening to him over the last year and a half, Coach.
Well, football is such a great game. This is probably one of the shameful things I've ever seen in the history of my career in football. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I want to say one thing. If I was a coach, I would not have either Incognito or the bully or the baby Martin on my team. That's me. Does that make me right? No. It makes me me. And I would stand up to that because you don't do what Martin did and you don't do what Incognito did, period.
And the coach, you are right about that, but there's also some information out there, or misinformation, that the public needs to get, all right? They act as if all this information come out of the NFL locker room, like, in the NFL locker room, you're free to do anything you want to. That's not true. And we are not that far removed. And we surveyed the players this week. The 1,800 players who play in the NFL. This is an odd situation. The players are not comfortable with what happened in Miami throughout the league. But as far as the league is concerned, all right, the NFL locker room is a workplace. And the NFL is committed to the belief that all employees have the right to work in an environment that is free from harassment, intimidation, discrimination, racial or sexual harassment, as well as harassment related to employees based on religion, national origin, age, or disability.
And who did that come from, Steve?
This is the NFL's policy.
Not the Miami Dolphins.
When you drive through the gate, give them your ID. You are in an active workplace. So all these ideas that the locker room, you can do this, that is not true. In the NFL locker room, you are not allowed to act like an animal and a savage. And I think that people need to stop putting that information out to the public.